So here we are, another day, another dollar. Or perhaps if you work for the Department of Work and Pensions, you're going to be saying, here we are, another day, another UK British bank statement, because we want to check, allegedly, whether or not people are entitled to this benefit. It's funny that, isn't it? Because on the screen right here, I have got, as we can see, Somalia's banking and mobile money ecosystem. Believe it or not, there are banks in Somalia, there are banks in Africa, there are banks in Afghanistan, and there are banks in all of these countries where we have all of these illegal immigrants coming into England from, and they're not providing any bank statements. Funny that, isn't it? Anyway, let's get on with today's video, which, as you know, is going to be all about bank statements. If you've been asked or you've been providing bank statements to organisations like the Department of Work and Pensions, know that now apparently the needle has been moved. I have been supplied information by one of my subscribers here on YouTube that have told me, and I'm going to show you in just a moment, that your bank statements are allegedly now being used to spy not just necessarily on other claimants, but other individuals as well. Is this lawful? And if you're caught providing information upon another individual, are you breaching data protection? So here is the comment from lovely Terry, and he says, I've had 2 audits. I receive universal credit, child allowance, I guess that is, and DLA. Single dad with a 15-year-old son who has complex needs. I was told they only need my bank statements to check I'm not holding more than 6k, and they asked about 2 regular payments I make to individuals to ensure I'm not using my benefits to support others who may be ineligible. They told me they were not interested in anything else I spend my money on. I worked from the day I left school till I was 49, when circumstances beyond my control put me at the mercy of benefits. I feel I've paid in enough to ask for help right now and don't have a problem giving them the info they requested. First of all, Terry, thank you very much for your comment. Always much appreciated to see what other people think about this rather chilling situation right now regarding the Department of Work and Pensions. However, the point remains, as we can clearly see here in this comment, by DWP's own words, allegedly, that they are using your personal data, your bank statements, not necessarily to verify if you're on the right benefit, not for any other reason that they have been telling people for the last few weeks, but apparently it's to check on other people's eligibility. Can they do this? Is this right? And what do I think about it? Now, first of all, if you don't know who I am, hello, welcome to the channel. It is the Justice Journals channel. I'm the founder of the Justice Journals. I started this channel after I sued the Department of Work and Pensions 3 times and won the majority. One part is still pending. I have it in appeal for unlawful harassment and failure to make reasonable adjustments in the workplace. And I feel very strongly about lots of processes that the Department of Work and Pensions engage themselves in, particularly when they don't follow their own rule book, or when they don't follow the rule book, which is law, such as data protection and GDPR. Because in my particular case, I actually got fired after I took legal action against the Department of Work and Pensions for a piece of AI information, a report that doesn't identify me in any way whatsoever. I know, lucid, but it's happened. And even the judge in her recent judgment has stated that I agreed to something that I did not, because I wasn't actually at the hearing. But it also states in her judgment that I was. And in her judgment, she even names a witness who isn't actually a witness in my case. And let's not forget that also when I asked for reasonable adjustments as a disabled person in a disability discrimination employment tribunal that's been going on a number of years now, no less than 15 times, she did not respond to a single one of those emails at all. I'm not going to comment anymore on that. I think the silence of our justice system towards disabled people pretty much says it all. And I just want to say, first of all, thank you to everybody for supporting the Justice Journals, sharing the channel, sharing it out. We've had actually 1 million views in the last 28 days, which is wonderful. Thank you so much. But can I please just bring your attention, if anybody has anything they can spare, to the fundraiser that I have for actually my own case, first of all, against the Department of Work and Pensions, because I need a very good barrister, a barrister with balls of steel. And as of yet, I haven't quite found one. And I have obviously a couple more processes within my suing against the Department of Work and Pensions that I do need to kind of fund. It is what it is. And barristers are very expensive because, of course, the Department of Work and Pensions are just using all of the taxpayers' money possible to pay for their barrister. But I don't have that disposal at my needs. So any help you can give, a coffee, anything it is, instead of like a £2.50 Cafe Nero, please contribute it, because I need it, and I appreciate anything anyone can spare. And if you can't, that's no problem at all. Please just watch the videos. It helps. It all helps. So rather shocking information. And this can go very far, just like this type of nonsense can go very, very far indeed. And this is why I'm very much against certain organisations accessing a lot of data, because they seem to be feeding it into AI, using all sorts of machines with a whole army full of pretty incompetent employees just to read scripts and harvest even more personal information. Now, there is a very, very thick line between verifying your information for universal credit and conducting a fraud interview. And if you are being interviewed for fraud purposes, you do need to be told about that. So number one, this narrative that everybody is being checked to make sure they're not doing something fraudulent is not okay. Number two, the next biggest threat I have seen quite a lot at the moment is people being threatened with failure to lose their universal credit, to have their payment suspended or even their claim cancelled if they do not comply. And the Information Commissioner's Office in London, who actually make the rules up about data protection and GDPR, have quite a lot to say about that. So before I go into that, let's look first of all at what DWP say or state that you need to be doing to comply with the rules so you are entitled to universal credit. And I say this with a caveat that guidance is not law. So organisations, including the Department of Work and Pensions, can publish, quite frankly, what the hell they like as guidance. Does not necessarily mean that it's law. Law is law. Guidance isn't necessarily law. So, according to DWP, a claimant must provide information reasonably required to determine entitlement. Where bank statements and all such is concerned, that is income, capital, and any change of circumstances. That's it. Now, this word reasonably required is literally something that is taken from the GDPR and data protection principles that govern the laws there. And those are these. Any data that the Department of Work and Pensions or anybody requests from you, and it is your personal data must legally satisfy 3 main criteria. And that criteria goes above DWP guidance and anything else. And that is, number 1, the data must be necessary. So looking at what you're spending your money on is not necessarily necessary. It is not proportionate because you don't need to see it in order to determine whether or not you are eligible for universal credit, because it is your capital, your income, and your circumstances that determine that. Okay. And the third one is it relevant? So in this case, where we have this statement, and it's comment, a statement as such, is saying we need your bank statements to make sure somebody else is not getting something that they're not entitled to. That 100% would fail those 3 principles, because you cannot use, in this particular case, somebody else's personal information to covertly survey other people. Now I'm going to get to this elusive, and it is really elusive, 14-day administrative deadline for you to provide your statements, because there is nowhere in law written, because I have looked, that you have to provide your bank statements within 14 days, completely unreducted, or your benefit can be suspended or stopped. Now, if you're currently in the place where you are being threatened with this, and it is a threat, then I would seriously consider doing these next 2 things. Number 1, get this data review toolkit. There's a link down below underneath this video. If you're watching this video on a mobile, you're going to have to open it up in the bigger size and then look underneath the video. Inside this toolkit are letter templates that I have written and Justice Writer Pro have written, the software that I created to help people write more robust letters and answer general questions and certain things relating to disability in this type of advocacy. In this toolkit, there are 4 main letters, all to do with GDPR, data protection, ICO and complaints to certain organisations like the Department of Work and Pensions, whilst protecting your rights. So number 1, telling them that you are going to comply with what is lawful, and for them to basically tell you a number of different things so that you can make the decision as to whether or not you think their requests are lawful or not. Telling somebody that they have 14 days to comply with something that is not written in law is, I don't think, being lawful. However, this is not legal advice. So if you want further legal advice, then go and see the Citizens Advice Bureau. If you are disabled or you have a chronic health condition, or you just consider yourself to have multiple disabilities and you are given a 14-day deadline and there are no acceptations and not making any allowances for you, they're not making any reasonable adjustments for you, then that could potentially be discriminative, because the Department of Work and Pensions does have a duty to comply with reasonable adjustments for disabled claimants, which might mean I need 28 days or 60 days to follow that or look into that request. Number 1, I need to collect the data that you're requesting. Number 2, I need to go and seek legal advice, which you would be completely allowed to do. Now, to not give people the time to do this, and I should imagine this 14-day deadline is because it doesn't give you enough time to go to the CAB, to contact the ICO. I'm quite sure the Department of Work and Pensions knows that. So they do need to be very careful, because potentially these types of requests, shall we just call it, could be considered coercive compliance. Okay. And if I was a Department of Work and Pensions, or I was a person that was issuing these threats to vulnerable members of the society, particularly people with disabilities, I would be wondering whether or not this is something that one could do, because coercive compliance is compliance obtained through threat of loss of essential income. Obviously, if somebody is on a benefit like universal credit, that would be considered essential income. So saying to someone, give me all of your bank statements or we're going to stop all of your money, which is basically what they're saying, little bit dicey there, isn't it? Because claimants are being threatened with claim closure if they don't comply with providing all of this information. Now, I have read so many of the comments, and by the way, I'm going to be screenshotting a lot of these comments and I'm going to be putting them on a very, very long blog post over at thejusticejournals.com so that maybe some other organisations, maybe even, the House of Commons themselves would be interested to see what a number of vulnerable people are being subjected to. So please carry on commenting. Now, my concern here with the coercive compliance, if that is what it is these sorts of things here. So basically, lots of you are feeling coerced into providing information that you're not happy with, and I completely understand why. The time is ridiculous, particularly this side of Christmas, that it's non-negotiable. So I have heard recordings from some of my subscribers that have recorded their review, and I have listened to it, and it is quite disgusting where no law has been cited. These work coaches are just saying, we are following statutory rules, you need to comply. Find the rule then. Where's the law? Point the claimants to the law which states this can be done. And I do think from what I have heard that it seems to be disproportionate. Now, I want to be very clear here. If you are in a fraud investigation or your income capital does not correspond at all with what you have stated to your work coach, your initial universal credit claim, your PIP claim, or anything else relating to those sorts of things, then that is slightly different, okay? But I have had a lot of very, very concerning messages from well-being former taxpayers before they became ill, elderly people, middle to late aged people who are now disabled with chronic illnesses, being spoken to and coerced into providing information that they're just not happy with doing. Now, the term coercive compliance is something that would seriously, the ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office in London, would be very interested about, because that type of action or behaviour or instruction, if you like, to force people to provide information with those types of threats would not necessarily, or it could be questioned whether or not there is procedural fairness in that, whether that data protection is being given by real consent or if it's coercion because people are feeling we're going to lose our benefits because of it. And because of that, and because of the way this data is being used or to obviously spy on other people, is that really lawful processing of personal data? Now, let's just say you're helping your family out. Let's just say you live at home, you're an adult, but you live at home with your parents and you give your mum like £100 a month or something towards food or something like that. Should you or your mother be put under investigation because you're contributing to household expenses? No, I don't think you should. And when we are currently battling our borders or trying to get control back of our borders in the UK, where we are housing and feeding people that do not and are not even providing bank statements. And I'm pretty sure all of these countries that these people come from, because most of them seem to be coming up through France where they've been living for a while, I'm pretty sure there are banks in France. I'm pretty sure there are banks in the Sudan. I'm pretty sure there are banks in Somalia. So if these people aren't having to prepare bank statements, then quite frankly, why should anybody else? That would be my school of thought. But having to explain why you spent £2.50 on transport on a metro and where did you go is really going too far. And I would consider that to be a complete and utter waste of taxpayer money. So a 1 hour investigation for to ask these sorts of questions, I think is quite frankly, fire anybody that thought this was a good idea would be, really what I would be saying, because I think training or retraining is have gone way too far. It's just a stupid and pointless waste of public money. And of course, we have the horrible, unfortunate track record of DWP getting it wrong so many times. I'm living proof of that myself. But I am fortunately still here to tell the tale. And I know they absolutely hate me telling that tale. But for as long as there's breath in my body, I will be telling that tale. But what about all of those people that are no longer here because DWP got it wrong, or DWP, over-sanctioned, or DWP did something where, I wouldn't quite put it like this, but let's read out Carol's comment. The DWP have a very long, saying very because it's a capital, very long and well-documented history of exceeding their authority in all sorts of sinister ways. So if you've been affected by any of these things that I've mentioned here, please download the Data Protection Toolkit. Arm yourself with a proper written audit and track record of what you're doing. Always comply, but make sure you report these types of organisations if you feel they are not complying with data protection and GDPR laws. And I think there is a very big question here that needs to be answered by the ICO, and I am waiting for an update from the ICO on this particular topic as to whether or not this is actually lawful. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you really think about this.